Um, Brilliant. So I think for the summer, this is now the third webinar workshop, talking about AI and large language models. At the first one, we really looked sort of an introduction of it. The one we did last month, we really spent most of the time on sort of in OpenAI's ChatGPT and had a look at all the features that actually go beyond just a simple chatbot. We'd look at agents, sort of deep research. Now, this is now, I guess, part two of this whole topic of LLM features, where we're now going to have a look at some other platforms, other companies beyond sort of the main one, ChatGPT, and have a look at some options that they offer that maybe ChatGPT at the moment doesn't, or they do actually a little bit better. So that's really going to be the purpose of today. Now, let's just remind myself where. So in terms of future talks, as I said, we've done that introduction. We've done part one of this. We're now going on to the other companies. And we're going to have some more webinars on sort of looking deeper into prompting and sort of practical generative AI use. We may have a look at some enterprise AI options. So let's say you get really excited by some of the features that you're experiencing, but you are aware of the security implications, so want to actually bring it into an enterprise environment. We'll have actually a look at really what it means to be an AI agent and how possibly you could deploy some customized AI if that's something your business could be interested in. And we will probably also have a look at sort of AI from a strategic standpoint in terms of if you're bringing it into your business, that's just sort of part one. You need to do all that kind of transformational change and working with your employees to get the best out of it. That's where we're going in the future. In terms of today, quite a big agenda, and we'll just see how far through it we get. I'm going to start off with something we didn't actually get time to last time, which is working with images and how that could be useful in some of your workflows, and you may be surprised, depending on your experience, of how good that can be. We're going to go into a platform called Claude, which is another big American company. The company itself is called Anthropic. And we're going to have a look at some of the features, these artifacts features that Claude has on offer. I'll show you a platform called Lovable, which enables you just to deploy pretty much a website with just a single prompt. So if you wanted to offer maybe a new service, I'll show you how easy it can be. Then we have a look at a Google product called Notebook LM, which has another interesting tool because it can produce podcasts based on the data you give it. It can produce explainer videos, and it can produce mind maps as well of your data. So another interesting tool. Then we're going to move on to introducing you to a platform called Perplexity, which is another AI platform that has really, last few weeks, actually introduced some brilliant new AI features for sort of controlling your web browser and doing lots of good agentic things. We'll probably just do a fly past on Perplexity, I guess. Let you know about Grok, that's Elon Musk's AI. Make you aware as well of what voice mode is on ChatGPT. And again, if you're interested in maybe making avatars in terms of maybe you're doing some updates on social media once a week and don't want your face doing it, it's pretty easy to type some text in on HeyGen, get a professional looking avatar to talk it for you. So there's a lot there. We'll see how far we get. But really, if I just move on to the next slide.
Can I interrupt?
Yes, please.
Can I? Because most of us can't afford subscriptions to all of them.
Yeah. So in terms of these platforms, I'll just go back. So Claude is the only one I pay a £20 a month subscription. Pretty much all of them offer a free tier so that you could experience like a good,
sure about
good
Perplexity.
example.
But yeah, I've got Perplexity, and that's pretty good for me.
Yeah,
also £20.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not expecting, Charlie, anyone to be sort of paying these constant £20 or something like 200, but just to give you that awareness and that introduction, and you can then have a think about actually in the workflows I do, this could be useful. and I'm going to go and explore it further and maybe want to invest in a license. But definitely just to get familiar with them, you don't need a license. Okay. In terms of actually what I'd like you to get out of today, just an awareness of tools beyond ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a household name. There are loads of others. How simple these tools can be to use. Like AI as a user can be a really simple experience to get quite powerful outputs. For you to have a ruminate, I think if there are possibly some of these platforms provide opportunities for you in your business. I'm going to go through a lot of them so that you can see it. So therefore you can easily replicate it. So I'd like you to be trying these things out if you felt they were useful. And as well, at any point, just ask questions, ideas, opinions of whatever we're talking about. I'd love to answer those questions. So that's really what I want to get out today. Good. I'll just pause. You can ask questions at any point, but are there any questions? Okay. Let's get going. A reminder, Charlie, I guess, has kind of prompted a license reminder. If you are using these tools unregistered, the chances are your data is being completely exploited for retraining purposes, and so therefore no sensitive data should go in. If you are using a free tool that's registered, it is likely possibly some retraining, so maybe your data is not being used for retraining, but it definitely won't be GDPR compliant. If you're paying for some subscriptions, you get a bit more security. GDPR compliance, still probably not, platform dependent. And when you go to these enterprise licenses is where you begin to get that enterprise security, that sort of SOC 2 ISO 27001 compliance. So that's just a note on that. So let's move on. Working with images. So large language models, they typically just deal with text. However, all of the big platforms like ChatGPT, like Claude, have worked out ways to get the text to communicate with image models. So what that means they can do is from text that you write in, they can be prompted to create an image, but also you can give them images and they can actually take some understanding of that image back as text. So it can work both ways. Why would you want to do one way or the other? Maybe you've got an image of maybe a handwritten document, and actually you just quickly want that writing out in sort of digital text so you can put it in a document somewhere, or a handwritten form. It can easily extract most people's handwriting at this point, and we'll just have a quick demo of that. Probably not for this audience, but maybe another example of how these kind of models could be useful. Some like big hedge funds and stuff will be using satellite imagery to work out information from images. Maybe they would ask an image how many cars are in the image as a proxy for how well an industry is doing by just monitoring the car park data as an example of how you can gain useful insights from images. And then the generation of images, probably more to do with any media or marketing campaign. If you're putting out consistent messages in your business, how can you actually quickly make these, in some cases, pretty effective images with very little budget? Okay, so these are two examples here of just simple prompts. This has gone into a platform called Ideogram, which gives you some free text to image features. I think on the left-hand side, it was, could you put the slogan, plan your finances, and how you could be saving for a house. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it to give me actually sort of UK money. So that's the downside on that. And maybe the idea, I asked it to be creative in generating an investment bucket and what that actually sort of means, just to sort of catch attention. Now, I'll just bring up a web browser and show you how simple this could be. So let me.
Where's the model for the Google model they've just released? Where do you find it?
Well, I'll show you in a second on that one. So that's a great question. The Gemini Flash 2.5, also Nano Banana. I don't know why they called it that. So this platform, Ideogram, it's very good for producing images where the text is pretty accurate. definitely about 6 months ago, a lot of platforms were struggling. If you said, I want a poster with this text, some of the text wasn't appearing quite right. So I think these are some from my existing gallery. But if we would just have a look at what kind of things other people created, they can be really artistic. And if I just give it a simple prompt like this, create a graduation cap, a stack of coins, the overlay, secure your child's future today with Summit Financials. So again, you were asking about licenses. I literally registered with my Gmail. I do not pay for Ideogram. It's generating me 4 versions. It works pretty quickly, and I have a limited amount of prompts per day. And let's just have a look at one of these. A relatively good picture of what I had described. We've got some generated 4 options. So again, just very quick posters, very quick marketing campaigns. That one doesn't actually look so good. That looks a bit Photoshoppy. So really quick one. That was Ideogram. You saw how easy it was in order to generate that image. So bear that in mind. Now, moving over to the other image models, I'll actually just show you how to get to it. So the new one from Google is part of their Gemini models. You can get to it via gemini.google.com. I'm actually going to get to it another way, which is via the Google AI Studio, and you can do exactly the same thing. Just Google AI Studio. And you'll have to use your Gmail, so that, but you don't pay for it at all. And actually, Google AI Studio is really good as a free platform. Now, if you want to produce images, it's the Nano Banana model over here in the top right. You click on this model there, and that should have been selected, ready to chat. Now, what this model is very good for is it can actually take images that you already have and use them in the image you want to create. So it's actually quite good at editing or working with an existing image, which previous image models were not so good at. So what I'm going to do, and I did ask Charlie's permission if I could just, I'm just going to steal this logo for BAT software. And oh, it's my test earlier. So I'm just going to, I literally copied that to my clipboard, paste that in, and I've got some prompts on my other screen. Of potential ideas that sort of promote what possibly BAT could be doing. So I'll just paste one of them onto my screen and we'll see how it does. So a clock face made of swirling paperwork with the BAT logo replacing the clock center, radiating beams of efficiency, papers dissolve into digital data streams. And I have attached the logo. Let's see how this one runs. If you're struggling with how to sort of think about writing a prompt, you can actually ask the AI sort of give me some creative ideas. That's what I did. I'm not particularly artistic. And what we have here is, I'd say that's a little mediocre. Charlie, is that something that you would use?
Loads of money, yes. Or loads of bills.
Loads of bills. I've got some other ones that I was just playing around with earlier just to double check. So this was one, what was the campaign it suggested? Future-proof your firm. So it's kind of a green theme. And what it's done is it's sort of taken that BAT logo and brought it in there. Just trying to think, I've got some others, I suspect, in the history as I was just testing this earlier. 20 hours ago, that's probably the same one. We'll try one more, see if we can get something a little bit better. Any questions, please ask. Here's one more. So a stack of money and compliance documents teetering the edge of a cliff with the bat logo projected as a safety net underneath catching them. I'm not so sure about that one. However,
How do you get to this screen, Peter? If I go to the same screen, it's white, and so it doesn't have the upload image at the start.
Doesn't have the upload image. I pasted the image in.
Okay. You've logged in, right? You've got to be logged in.
Yes, I logged in. I haven't.
Okay.
You should be able to just log in with your Gmail, and then you can go.
Yeah.
AIstudio.com is a cheaper way of accessing Gemini. Google have various ways of accessing their AI model, and you get more services without registering. But again, have a play around. You can find some fantastic pieces of media generated by Gemini, and now it can sort of work with your own brand pretty seamlessly. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. So that was all text to image. Now let's have a look at a quick example of image to text. I'm actually just going to use ChatGPT for this one. What I'm going to do is upload a picture of, I think it's maybe the first page of a PAYE self-assessment. I think I called it test form. We can have a look at it. Okay, yeah, so a tax return, and I've just entered in some pretty bad handwriting. Well, it is actually my handwriting, but some entries to it. Now let's just to demonstrate the power of these models. So please pull out the questions from this image and the responses, display it as a table. And that should be quite an easy one for ChatGPT. Oh no. Why is it going to go through that approach? Let's see what it's done. Okay, it has done it, just in a way I didn't expect. So it pulled out the questions that were on the form, your date of birth, your name and address, which wasn't filled in, my phone number, and a national insurance number. And that was all from, again, a pretty poor, low quality form. If you were doing this a lot in your organization, there is a way that you can automate hitting this model. You wouldn't do it through the ChatGPT interface, but it should be about 2 hours, 1 hour for developers' time, and you could do that. So if you work with a lot of raw text data, like handwritten text, and you want it in some sort of digital form, the models these days just eat up that task very easily. Okay, that's all I want to say on images. Any questions? Okay, the next platform we're just going to have a look at is this one, Claude.ai. It's probably the third biggest AI provider, AI model in the world, behind OpenAI, ChatGPT, and Google Gemini. It works like any other chatbot, so I could, for instance, yeah, so what is the latest news today? It's web enabled, it has reasoning. You just type in a box and you get a response. However, it's going out to its, and this does have a free tier. You'll be limited probably to about 8 or 10 prompts every 5 hours or so. It's getting the latest news for me. It's done a web scrape. And here is the news today. So Claude, just a model in this case. Now, what I want to show you with Claude have a look. Just some other background points on Claude. Claude is extremely good at programming. That's probably where its sort of USP is. It's valued, I think, at the moment just under 200 billion, and it grew by 3 times since about February 2025, mainly due to developers really liking its coding model, its ability to write code that is going to produce something useful. Now, it's its artifacts feature that I want to show you today. Now, with Claude Artifacts, in the GUI, that ChatGPT-like window, you can ask it effectively to produce a client dashboard. You may upload some data. From that dashboard, you could actually implement some AI intelligence in there. So for certain companies, let's have a look at, give me some more information on that, or what do you think about this from using that AI intelligence? And you can actually build a full app directly from a prompt itself. So we'll have a quick explore of that. So one, you're in Claude because it's very easy to use. I'll just go to a new chat. And what I'm going to do to start with is just create a really simple app, and we can see how it works. So not really a complicated prompt going on. Create me an app where I select a temperature and a limited selection of weather conditions, and you suggest the number of clothing layers I should be wearing. Use a decision tree approach, so effectively, like if it's greater than 20 degrees and less than windy, I suggest this. So a simple example to start with. Interestingly, this app someone actually did make in California about 3 months ago, and people were actually interested in. They could not decide for themselves based on the temperature what to wear. Now, what Claude is going to be doing is it's recognizing that we want to create an app. And now it's doing this thing called drafting the artifact. And this is the first time you can see actually what an artifact is doing. So it's beginning to write computer code. And once it gets to the end of that computer code, it's going to render it for us like a website. Okay. So it's coming up with its rules. It's writing that code relatively fast, although it's been faster.
Presumably, you chose for your own use Claude for the reason that it's very good at this particular tool.
Yes,
creative code, which suits you personally, so to speak.
Yeah,
because we all start off, we buy a subscription, and everyone off they go and use it. Chat, OpenAI in our case, and 20 quid a month per user, and it's all very well, but it's hard enough just to find out what they're doing, let alone looking over the fence, seeing what everyone else is doing as well, if you see what I mean. And when you've got the paid version, it's obviously it gets better and better and better. It's and more personalized. Back to the original question I asked, really, how to choose right at the start.
Well, I guess this is part of, what I'm trying to just improve the general awareness.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are things before. Now, in terms of probably, I like ChatGPT as a general purpose one. I think it does a lot of things quite well. But yeah, Claude definitely has its uses. It's a really simple app. I select the temperature. So at the moment, I've got this scroller here, and it tells me that if it's 4 degrees and sunny, I should be wearing a base layer and a medium jacket and sweater, and may consider light gloves and socks. Whereas if I put it up to 33 degrees, it's suggesting light clothing, UV protected. It's a really simple app in this case. It wasn't hard to produce, and Claude has a nice feature as well. I can go publish, and it creates me actually a web link that I could send to you, and you could actually use this app. Now, Claude hosts this. You don't need a license in order to interact with an artifact someone makes. So maybe you want to make, and we will in a second, maybe some model, maybe that describes how savings work or how a pension works. And then you could actually give someone the web link, maybe a colleague, and they can play around with it for themselves. So this is how the end app looks. That's just rendering. Okay, now what I'm now going to show you is in Blue Peter style an app I made earlier, which is a bit more relevant. Things are definitely slowing down at my end. Sorry, it's just loading. I think this is the downside of Teams over Zoom, Charlie. Teams, whenever you share, really starts to slow the system down. Okay.
Never noticed.
So, well, it does for me at least.
Yeah.
This is the idea of this is I have given it when I made it, and it was I used just natural language instructions and what I wanted. I said that I typically get out my information on my investments in this kind of spreadsheet format. I have one per client and it comes out like this, and this is just an example one. So create me a dashboard that's actually going to visually show this horrible spreadsheet of numbers. So what I can do is I choose this CSV file. Come on, there we go. I've got this test portfolio, open that. And now it's loading everything into this interactive dashboard. And actually, this is relatively secure. All of the processing now happens in the browser. So it's told me the total value. Looks like we're not doing well. 1 day performance. It's got a breakdown here of my the allocation in my investments. Let's keep scrolling down. Different companies and their performance. And then I've got actually the various, I guess that's the stock ticker, the company, quantity, price, market value. So all of this looks quite professional. We didn't really have to do any data visualization skills. Claude came up with the theme and I thought it was okay. Now, another really interesting feature that Claude has is when I click on this, it gives me all of the information that was in the spreadsheet, but I also instructed it to use some AI intelligence. So if I go for this company, is there a company that, let's go BlackRock Energy. If I click on that and go AI info, it's now actually calling Claude's model, like the one we just saw a minute ago that asked what's the news today. It's effectively asking it for more information about BlackRock Energy dynamically. And it's giving me some more information about what BlackRock Energy, this fund actually is. Now, as the designer of this, you could say anything with the AI. Effectively, I would like some AI feature within this dashboard to do X, Y, and Z. So this is an interesting feature that they have recently put in place.
Well, that's fantastic for you know, IFA spent a lot of money on research tools and tools to display the data, forecast it, and so on. And here it all is almost for free, or at least £20 a month. Amazing.
Yeah. And again, so this is just a style. To be honest, my artistic skills are pretty limited. Claude is actually pretty good at designing stuff. So you could actually go through various themes, just describe the color theme you want. You could give it a color palette. And yeah, as Charlie said, if you know that you always have your data in a certain way, and you could just upload it before that monthly meeting, take a screenshot, or even ask Claude to have it download the PNG of the visual, and then you could put it into that slide deck or wherever you want to repurpose it. Any questions on how we've built this Claude artifact? No? Okay, so one more artifact that we'll have a quick explore of making. So you can actually as well, you could create an app that's going to sort of do some financial modeling. So I've got a prompt that I've just prepared on my other screen. Let's just go up. Now, I actually created this prompt using Claude. I effectively said, what would make a good app in order to predict when someone could retire based on their savings, what kind of pensions they have, and things like that. And it has suggested this app where someone enters in these various bits of information, and then it will have their retirement goals, and it will may try to predict it. So what I'm going to do is just run that and just double check that gets going. And then I'm just going to move to a slide just to make best use of this time, because it'll probably take 2 minutes or so to build, and we can see actually what it builds. So I'm just checking. User-friendly inward, calculates retirement age, and the artifacts are going. Excellent. Whilst we're on Claude, one of the last features that I've found very useful, and it is not available on all Claude licenses at the moment, is likely to be sort of coming into the lower paid licenses. At the moment, it's on their very expensive plan or their enterprise plan. It's very good now at working with Excel spreadsheets. Far better actually than Copilot, which is part of Microsoft. And I think actually slightly better in ChatGPT as well on working with spreadsheets. And it actually creates you spreadsheets where it leaves the formulas in there for you. So something that maybe you would like to repurpose on your desktop later, but just don't want to do all the development work of getting that spreadsheet set up. So a really short example that I prepared on my other license. Here, this is a simple spreadsheet I asked it to create of calculate my house value based on the initial house value, the annual growth, and the number of years. And Claude just generated this spreadsheet on the top left. So we've got the year house value prediction and total return. And I've got this other print screen that shows you it hasn't just given me the values and calculated it, it's given me the formulas. So therefore, you have the opportunity then to be playing around. If Excel is the kind of tool you like tweaking stuff in, you now have this model that you can play around with. And then as well, because Claude is a model that does a lot more than just spreadsheets, you could ask it, hypothetically, create me some sort of projection statement every 5 years as a PDF. And this was the example it gave as to how it would do that. And you could download the 5 PDFs from the Claude desktop. I think, Colin, you've got a question.
Yeah, just a quick one. Can this interrogate or create tabs on a spreadsheet, or is it just a sheet?
So, because it uses, it can definitely interrogate multiple tabs. So you can put in an XLSX file. It doesn't just have to be CSV. ChatGPT also will as well. And I believe it should have the capability to make tabs. ChatGPT definitely does. The way it works, it should. Whether it actually does, I don't know, but it can definitely interrogate sheets with multiple tabs. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Good, great question, that. Brilliant. Let's see actually how our retirement calculator was going. So I need to go back to my Chrome browser. Brilliant. Okay, so I've got my retirement age calculator here. It says current age 35, life expectancy 180. Oh, you're kidding me. I have to go up. Oh no. Screens. Okay. We'll just go 6. Okay, I've pressed the keys too much. Target retirement age 65. We've got information on the income and savings. This probably means more to you as an audience than me. Current savings and investments, retirement goals. And based on that information, which I appreciate may be a simplification given the audience, this simple app has, if I can get to the scroll bar there, it's got my estimated retirement age based on how I wanted to live according to my retirement goals, my annual retirement income, the total profit, and I have this graph generated. Now I can change any one of these numbers. At the moment, the estimated retirement is 38. Let's say I wanted retirement income of 50,000. we can see it's instantly gone up to 61. So again, this code, you could actually, again, just get a developer, say, look, I have the code. Could you just build it into something I can put on my domain? If you have a website, you could potentially just quickly be adding, if it's useful to customers, these kind of tools for quick and easy approximations. You decide effectively the logic and the instruction going in. Claude makes the app. You tweak it around a bit, and it may just, I guess, generate some interest to your business or your website. So just interesting example there. Good. So I think that's everything I wanted, just a really quick overview on Claude. Any questions before I move on to Lovable?
I've got a question for cross the floor, if that's okay, to Colin and people who check files or see a lot of files. Just seems to me amazing. There's a whole industry called cash flow forecasting. Again, IFAs pay a lot of money to get subscriptions for cash flow forecasting tools, and here it all is. What do you make of that, Colin?
I think it's really good, and I think that as a quick and simple tool, I mean, at the moment we haven't looked at a proper cash flow modeling exercise, which is quite complicated. But for something that's a quick and simple tool, this could go on to bat at no real kind of expense and give many firms a great resource. And we could do this with pretty much anything, whether you're talking mortgage rates, whether you're talking repayment rates, whether you're talking growth rates, retirement, whatever. These could build some really quick, simple tools that could just go on back without any real hassle.
Good. Sorry, Peter, hijacking your.
No, it's a great. Questions. No, the question's very good. And Colin, I think that's a good assessment. Like a quick and easy, simple tool or a prototype. This is where these things are good. In terms of I do a lot of this stuff. It's almost I want to pass it off to a developer. It's like, I've got the idea, I've got the vision. To be honest, probably 60, 70% of it's there. Now, can I put it into actually deployment as a product or build further on it? Often there's such a gap between what the technical people in your organization can do and their domain expertise. And a lot of these tools is sort of coming together in the middle. Now the domain experts have enough tech tools to bring their vision to light. And it's far easier to communicate it to any development team that wants to quickly build it for you. Okay, so moving on to Lovable. Lovable is, when it loads, I think the company managed to, I think they've got valuation in a couple of 100 million after about 8 months. They've really grown quick. Their platform effectively makes complete websites that have storage, authentication, most of the things you would want in a general purpose website, and they generate that all from a prompt. So I'm just going to give you an example. I've logged in for free. Here you get like 1 or 2 goes for free. And if I just go to my notes, so you're not watching me type. Here we go. So what's the prompt? Create me a website for my financial advisory company based in the UK called Summit Financials. Make it corporate, professional, clean, and use images to enhance the look and feel, given outdoors amazing theme to go with my company image. Now, I'm going to run this, and similar to what we did Claude Artifacts, we're going to come back to it. One thing I'd just like to point out is you have over on the left-hand side of the screen here, is where I've got my prompt and it's coming up with its plan of how it's going to make this. You can edit it. You can go back to it saying, I don't like this, or actually, these are my personal details. This is my CV and I'd like this on the about page. It's never sort of a one-shot generation thing. So we'll just see how it does. Obviously, really easy to access. All I did was put a couple of sentences in there. So the next tool we're going to have a look at is Did lovable. Okay, Notebook LM. Has anyone in this audience used Notebook LM before? You could just put a virtual hand up if you have. There are a few people on previous calls who have. No, okay, that's fine. So Notebook LM is a product produced by Google. You can use it, a lot of its options for free. Actually, most of the platform you can use for free in Notebook LM, just with a Gmail account. All of the caveats of data security apply. I think Notebook LM, there's like a $9 a month fee to get an enterprise version where obviously all of your data is protected with enterprise security. For those of you on the webinar last month, it's a bit like a very advanced custom GPT. And what it can do with that, those web sources, all of that information that you give it, it can generate audio summaries, podcasts, videos of that content as well. You can question that content in depth, and it comes back with information based on that content. So let's have a look at how easy it is to work with Notebook LM. The address notebooklm.google.com. Again, you'll sign in with just a Gmail account, or you could just Google Notebook LM, it'll come up. Now, let me just refresh. So this is the page once you log in. Now, Notebook LM have started introducing pre-made notebooks, which doesn't mean much to you at the moment, but we'll have a look at one. So if I was to click on this earnings report for top 50 corporations, and I only saw this one this morning and I thought it was relevant. This is the interface you get with Notebook LM, where it has all of the knowledge sources down the left-hand side. I think you can take up to about 50. These can be PDFs, they can be YouTube videos, they can be things in Google Drive, recordings. It takes a lot of, actually, can I add? No, I can't add to it because this is a Google made one. Now I can then ask questions based on that documentation. So earnings reports, what kind of thing would I ask this report? Charlie, any ideas? What kind of things would I ask something of the earnings report for top 50 corporations?
The ones with the highest dividend yield.
What companies aspects of
May not like your spelling.
no, it can work with that, sure. Okay, so it's got 168 sources that this is Google have, I guess, decided are trusted sources. And so it's saying JP Morgan Chase announced 12% increase. And what is really nice about Notebook LM is you've got the references here. So if I was to click on reference 1, it finds that bit of information, and that was from the Q1 2025 JP Morgan Chase earnings report. So it gives you that validation as to actually the LLM not making it up. And then we've got Bank of America. Oh yeah. So really good for questioning your own knowledge sources. Now, there's some other quite interesting features. I'm just going to go to a very small one that I made for myself, which is to do with GDPR and data protections. So I've got a lot of PDFs from the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office. I've got 4 of them, I think. And so if you just, once you create your own one and you just click on the create button, if you wanted to add sources, you literally just press add and you upload files, websites, YouTube, Google Drive, and just copy, paste in. Now, we've already seen how you could question it, which is what I just double checked here, but there's this useful thing on the top right. So if you wanted an audio overview, it's going to generate this podcast based on the material. So what I'm just going to have to do is I'm just going to briefly stop sharing and then share my audio so you can get a feel for what this actually does. So stop sharing, share the correct screen, which is include sound. Okay. So if I've already asked it to create a podcast based on this relatively dry topic, and what we're going to do is open it up.
Hey there, curious minds. Ever felt like navigating data privacy regulations is less like a clear path and more like trying to find your way through a dense, ever-shifting forest? You know, the kind where every turn seems to bring a fresh patch of thorny jargon and just overwhelming details.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It can feel like that.
Well, today we're cutting a strategic path straight to the heart of it all. We're taking a deep dive into the UK GDPR, but not just the rules on paper.
Right.
We're exploring the hidden clearings, the surprising flexibilities, and maybe those strategic aha moments designed to help you not just comply, but, you know, thrive without feeling completely swamped.
That's precisely what...
Okay. Hopefully that audio came through of the snippet of that podcast. Did that come through?
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is quite interesting. If you've got a long document and just want an overview for an audio format, actually the podcast does it in quite an interactive way. Usually they're between about 7 minutes and 15 minutes or so. Some CEOs actually, when they were trying to sort of gain insights of what was going on in their business, actually put in all of the customer survey responses from the week into Notebook LM and asked it to create a podcast so they could get a feel. Because typically what podcasts like to do is almost focus on the extremes of things so they could get an idea of actually what are the common themes of people complaining about. And then the podcast host would say, oh, we had Jane here who was on the phone for 5 hours. Now, this is the kind of like high level information often some of the exec team are often interested in. So that was just an interesting use case I read on that topic. And also we had the audio overview. We've got, I think, if you wanted to create an audio overview, it's super easy. You just click on this button here, and there are now even more options. Do you want a deep dive into your material, a brief, a critique, a debate? And you can also focus on certain aspects. So let's say you've put lots of financial material in, and maybe you could say, focus this debate on my best financial savings advice for over 50s, for instance. And then it will try to make the podcast more aligned with that. So you can put custom information in. And the other thing that's actually pretty good is their video overviews. So we'll just have a quick look at that.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really interesting part of UK data protection law, the official gateways or exceptions. They're called exemptions, and yeah, they can seem a bit complicated, but figuring out how they work is absolutely essential if you handle personal data.
You know, UK data protection law, the UK GDPR, it can feel like this impenetrable fortress, right? With these super high, strict walls built to protect our personal info no matter what. But what if I told you there were a few specific, heavily guarded gateways through those walls? Well, those gateways, they're called
Okay, so hopefully you got enough of a feel for that. It's effectively a narrated set of slides. Now, again, we've seen actually one of the other companies that do work with internal training videos in terms of actually this is how we do something, or this is our process, that usually would be given a document, quickly make a Notebook LM video, and there you have some explainer stuff. There have been other use cases as well in terms of actually maybe we do want it in our own brand and we have a development team or like a media team. We no longer really have to think about the script or the content. We can just give it to them and they'll just rebrand it in our stuff and put it maybe on our website or something. So it's very easy to be creating these like explainer videos, which again may or may not be useful in the industry you're in. That's Notebook LM.
So I could put this seminar into it and distribute it after the event.
Definitely you can. You'd have to think about, I don't know if there's data, you'd have to go on the ICO. Notebook I created Yeah, have a think about that, because
So what would it do? Just put an American voice over the top of it saying, I'm here as Peter saying this.
I don't know what we've signed up for in this meeting, Charlie. I'm discovering myself. But no, I have actually put in data workshops with permission. So these were like 2-hour things on sort of programming in Python. And it gave a podcast of the workshop that was a lot more interesting than the workshop itself. It made things, it kind of Americanized them. It made it very exciting. Even bits of dull programming. I was like, oh my God, they found the outlier. This is phenomenal. What does that mean for the data set? So yeah. I am conscious of time, so we'll just have a quick scroll through what we have left. So Perplexity, I'll just get up that so you've got just an awareness. Perplexity. So there is a free tier. Obviously, there's someone who's already got the paid subscription of Perplexity, which is great. What I initially really like about Perplexity is the ability to change the types of sources that you're going to use to help the search. So Perplexity itself is not like ChatGPT, Claude, or Google models. They do not have their own AI model. They use other people's models, and they provide the information for the models to ask. And usually they just scrape the web for that. So they're very efficient. If you have a question like what was the news yesterday, quickly pulling out relevant news websites and then using someone else's model to answer that question. So they're not actually a model provider. But what here is quite useful is if actually you're asking a question and actually you didn't want the answer based in someone's opinion on Reddit, you could click academic and it's only going to look for academic stuff to help answer the question. Same for social and finance. So that is really useful, and you can get that on the free tier. Recently, they've really throttled the amount of free questions that you can have on here. If you pay the £20 a month license, you'll be able to get a lot more. Something else that I noticed recently on Perplexity's Pro subscription, so the paid one, which was, if I can just find the link, a really interesting use case that may appeal to this audience. So yeah, Perplexity on their paid service, they have a lot more than just a chat bot. You can host dashboards in there. It can now, I think, integrate with your email. It can control your web browser to a certain extent to achieve tasks. Now, I came across this on one of their examples of what to use for the Pro subscription for. So recommend a momentum trading strategy for Apple stock around the 2025, that's it's the developer conference event. First come up with different options for when to buy, a week before, day before, morning of, and when to sell. Back test it over the last 5 events using historic stock prices, give me a win rate. And what we can do is we can click on what Perplexity actually did. So you may have some sort of hypothetical ideas, some certain strategies, and if you think Perplexity could find information sources to sort of prove or disprove those, it will go about trying it. So it did is it analyzed 90 trades. It had this, come on, Brenda. It had a strategy of buy a week before, sell a month after, buy a day before, sell a month after, buy 3 days before, sell a month after, think buy at the event, sell a month after. And what it's done is it's gone and looks back at all of the prices at that point, calculated for you the average return, detailed that results by actually the years that it was looking at, so it's grouped it together all for you. It's actually got the analysis and the graphs it did, so you can dive into that. And it's actually given you the best strategy that based on those last 5 events, if you bought 1 week before and sold 1 month after, you can expect a 12.5% average return with an 83% win rate. And if you bought 1 week before and sell 1 day after, you only get that 4%. So I guess there must be some sort of effective movement going on afterwards. So Perplexity is an interesting platform. It is not a large language model itself. It's not an AI model itself. But what it does is brings lots of features, lots of agentic features to help us accomplish tasks that we may be interested in. That's Perplexity in about three minutes. Was there any questions on that? No? Okay. I'm literally just going to skim through just to give you an awareness at this point. Grok. So Grok is Elon Musk's AI. Now, in many ways, it's very similar to ChatGPT, very similar to Claude. However, Grok has access to all of X's or Twitter's data in real time. So this, for me personally, is where I actually go and use Grok every now and then. If I want something that actually probably hasn't hit the mainstream media outlets yet, or want some sort of vibes on what's going on. For instance, what do people think of maybe the iPhone 17 release? I'd be quite interested almost of what Twitter generally or X were thinking about that. So for certain use cases, actually, I just log into Grok. Grok has a pretty good free subscription, to be honest. Just use your email and you'll be able to get a good service for free. Now, Grok as well does offer some really powerful models that compete with the very best models in the world. But as Charlie alluded to at the beginning of the conference, we can't subscribe to everything. So I just want to make you aware, Grok has, in my opinion, a niche. If you want that real quick, real-time data, and you want your LLM connected to it, this could be the option. Okay. ChatGPT voice mode. I said I wasn't really focusing on ChatGPT, but it's something to make you aware of. ChatGPT in the free app, it has a button on the bottom right, which is a really effective conversational voice mode. Something to try if you have ChatGPT, see how good voice mode is. It may get you thinking of where actually these models could be used in your company. I actually use it a lot sometimes if I'm running. Actually, I do a lot of running. I may have a conversation with it about some concept or some strategy or even trying to understand something. And it is pretty conversational. It lets you interrupt. It's quite close to sort of talking to a human. So just a feature to be aware of there. And very finally, HeyGen, probably one of two or three of the big platforms that if you want to take a script and have an avatar, she's not, I'd say, particularly the best. You can get some really human-like avatars. So therefore, maybe if you want announcements, maybe on your social media campaign, you want something summarized, but don't want to have to do it yourself, you could be just getting an avatar to do it for you. And it really isn't that hard at all. It's a bit like logging into any other one of these platforms. Okay, really conscious of time. So I'm going to flick now right to the summary. What have we done? Image generation tools, shown you a good amount of Claude. Oh, Lovable. We never had a look at that website. Let's just really quickly see what it generated for us. Okay, this was the website. Looks pretty professional to me. And from here, I could then go into making it more specific or saying I don't like the color theme and it's going to change it. I have noticed it's got a nice mountain in the background, which is nice. Yep, so we looked at Lovable. We then had a look at Notebook LM, definitely nice free option. And Perplexity, we had a good look at that example and we'll just quickly run through Grok and HeyGen. I notice I'm at time, so I'll just bring up the final slide and yeah. Future talks, we're probably going to have a look at now sort of how to get more out of these models at the next session. I already talked about this early on. Thank you again. If you want any further information, please just drop me an email or go via Charlie. And I will drop a feedback form in the chat if there's anything you want to let me know about or anything you specifically want to be interested in next week.